All right, first and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah Kwadash. Double honor to the apostles and bishops of Great Millstone, and shalom to the 144,000, the rest of the elect. And we seeing this trend going on in the world of uproars of the people, mass protests, rioting, and what the elites call the resistance. All right, it's the resistance against the New World Order. The elite banking family, starting with the Rothschilds, who are Edomites, Amalek, the wicked that beareth rule in the earth, according to Job 9:24. They're tightening the clamps on this New World Order agenda and implementing this agenda throughout the societies of the world. So obviously they knew they was going to have some resistance, and it's part of the plan. It's part of the plan of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Job the 20th chapter. We're going to get to some of these scriptures, but what I did was I looked up on Google AI what's going on in Nepal, September 2025, just so I can get a quick overview. And you could do the same on ChatGPT. It's really all the same AI tech, but basically, just to put it simply, as of mid-September 2025, Nepal is in a state of political crisis following deadly mass protests driven by the Gen Z generation. So they're saying this is the Gen Z generation, and this is not even YNs. I believe they started over, and this more recent generation of these YNs is young niggas. That's what it stands for. Is really Generation Alpha. So I guess they started over from A, but this particular Generation Z, all right, it seemed like they're the ones who are leading this violent protesting. And so this is going to continue to be a trend in the world because, as the scriptures say, when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And we know the wicked is Esau, Edom, the so-called white race, beginning with their super duper rich wicked elite, the banking families, starting with the Rothschilds on down. You got the Rockefellers here in America, and there's other families, but those are the main ones that the people are hearing all over the internet. People are waking up. People are realizing what's going on. Their politicians, their government is bought and paid for because they basically been ran into debt through this banking system, through this Rothschild banking system. All right, they got the whole world, I believe, in $305 trillion of debt to the IMF. I mean, how the fuck does that work? How are you supposed to get out of that? That's why that dude, that time, I believe it was Mayor Amschel Rothschild or Bauer. They changed their name from Bowers to Rothschilds, but I believe he's the one that said, give me power over a nation's currency and I care not who makes the law. And what that means is they was going to drive the world into debt. They was going to basically enslave the world and the governments of the world and the people of these governments, the citizens, through debt. All right, they own the resources, they own the land, they own the politicians. They pretty much own everything, man, because they're the ones who print the money and loan it out with interest. So that's what's going on here. And this is what they've always called the resistance, which is a necessary part of establishing this New World Order, because that phrase, that motto, order ab chaos, the Latin way of saying from chaos comes order, or something along those lines. From the chaos, they're going to create order. And that's that New World Order, that one world government, the global digital economy, which is going to lead to the mark of the beast, the RFID chip, being implemented. Because of all this chaos and, the uprising of the people, the sedition among men is going to justify them in bringing down more draconian laws upon the people to get things under control. So we know the ultimate, we not ignorant of Satan's devices over here. Those of us of the hopeful elect, the men of the Lord, the prophets, we know the depths of this thing. But, on the surface level, you got regular people in the world and they also waking up. It says, sparked by a government ban on social media, the protests exposed years of pent-up anger over corruption, nepotism, and economic issues. And this is pretty much what every country in the world is going through. Corruption within the government, nepotism, where they basically have favoritism, and nothing is truly a democracy. All right, people ain't voting nobody in. Presidents are not elected. Presidents are selected by the elite bankers. All right, your votes do not matter. Your vote is an act. It's not a law. I forgot how they call it. You got the electoral college vote. I'm not too good with this stuff, but you got the votes of like the citizens. Forgot what it's called. Then the electoral college vote is the ones that really is the one that puts, somebody into office, like President Donald Trump, for an example. It wasn't by popular vote. There it is. All right, so that would be your nepotism. And economic issues, yeah, debt. Ibatyat. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, tells you about that thick clay that he laden himself with. All right, debt that you cannot get out of, heavy debts that cannot be repaid. And if you cannot repay somebody their debts, even by the Bible, you basically become their slave. Proverbs 22, verse 7. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. But, these people are wicked. There's supposed to be some type of year of jubilees every 7 years, according to the Bible, and every 49 years, if I'm not mistaken. There is a release of debt, the year of release. If somebody can't pay you back, they fucked up, man. What else you want them to do? Pull the money out of their ass? Pull the money out of thin air? Like the bankers do? All that money they loaning, they fucking printing it out of thin air, man. Then they adding debt on top of it. How the hell does that work? It's not backed by no actual substance, no gold, no silver, which is real money. All right, so these people are wicked, man. These super duper rich, wicked elite. Beginning with the Rothschild family and the Rockefeller family in America. You see, so the people are waking up, man. The people are in mourning. These, especially that Gen Z, they suffering the most behind all of this, because at least during the boomer age, it was a lot easier to get a house and start a family and do all of that. Ain't nobody could do that nowadays, man. People could barely eat. And that's another point I wanted to make real quick before I get more into it. If they're protesting like this over social media, imagine when they take away, the essentials of life, like food and water and shelter. All right, yeah, it's going to be all hell breaking loose in the world, man. It says political crisis and violent protests. Government ban on social media on September 4th, 2025. The Nepali government banned access to over 26 social media platforms, including Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. The move was the last straw for many young people, triggering widespread youth-led demonstrations. So there you go. Why are they taking away the internet? I had to look this up on Grok. The same thing, Chat, GPT, Grok. But I looked up J. Rockefeller quote on the internet. It said the quote you may be referring to is from Senator J. Rockefeller, who reportedly said during a C-SPAN interview that the internet is a fearsome, awesome problem, and suggested that it would have been better if it had never been invented. The exact full quote, as referenced in discussions, is, "I think it makes you ask the question, would it have been better if we never invented the internet? Because it is a fearsome, awesome problem." This was part of a broader discussion where Rockefeller expressed concerns about the internet's impact, particularly in relation to cybersecurity and the exposure of information. So there you go. After this internet was created, these elites knew that would be the end for them. They knew that the information would come out. Everybody would learn about them because they dwell in secrecy. All right, their power is hidden. It's not out in the open. That's how they've been controlling the world. They've been ruling this world, them and their family lines, their bloodlines. They've been ruling this world with a shadow hand, so to speak. All right, where you can't see them. You don't know that they're ruling the world, but they the ones that control the governments of the world. So yeah, the government makes the laws and implements the laws and, gives people consequence and punishment for breaking the law. But really, it's them that's pushing the different agendas. All right, it's them that's pushing the different social media agenda. Them and their witches and warlocks. The ones who are behind the scenes and, studying psychology of the people, how to get into their mind, how to manipulate their minds. So these people been in power for a long time and they don't want to lose their power, but they do know. Let me get Revelation 12. Time for the scriptures. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. That word devil, when you look it up in the Greek, is diablos, which means a slanderer, a false accuser, or a liar. It's not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. He's not going to come to this earth and do anything. He has set up the Edomites, which is the counterpart, the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, who is the devil that the Bible speaks of, Esau, Edom. He have set him up in power by the will of Yahweh. All right, because the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. He giveth it to whomsoever he will. and he setteth up over it the bases of men. Who's the bases of men? Job, the 30th chapter. The Edomites, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man today, the wild man. That was one of his identities, if you will, through history, the wild man. Do the research on that. The Apostle Tahar brought that out. You know, that's some cavemen, them Neanderthals, man. Couldn't talk, had no form of intelligence, walking on all fours like animals. All right, but now that the Most High brought him up into power, what does the scripture say? The pride of his heart have deceived him. He think he's going to rule forever by setting up this new world order with this AI tech, and, you know, he got everybody in debt, so he owns everybody and nobody's going to be able to do nothing. He got weaponry, he got technology, all right, he got strong military might. So he thinks he's going to sit in power forever. And he thinks he's even going to fight against Yahweh Shai when he comes back, man. But the point is that he's getting ready to basically unleash hell on earth because he knows that his time is up. All right, he sees what's going on in the internet, all the exposure. The scriptures say in Obadiah, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All right, this man cannot hide himself anymore. He's been fully exposed through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai Shai. Because when you really get down to it, really it was Yahweh Shai Shai, who the world ignorantly called God and Jesus Christ, that created the internet. All right, and the internet was mainly created to spread this gospel according to Psalm, the 19th chapter, Matthew 24, verse 14, and Romans, the 10th chapter. This message, this gospel, the good news of the Holy Bible, the truth, the 100% truth of the Bible, it had to be spread throughout the whole world. And the easiest way to do it was the internet. All right, YouTube and other social media platforms that assist the men of the Lord in getting these videos out to the ears of the elect. All right, because that was what the mission was all about from the beginning, was to seal the elect of the nation of Israel by this truth of the Bible. And once that was to happen, like Yahweh Shai said, then the end would come. So they know they're at their end, just like J. Rockefeller said. And he knew that once that information was global and widespread, viral, if you will, he knew that the people was going to resist. All right, they know this. The elites are not dumb. In Psalm, the 64th chapter, it tells you that their heart is deep and they inquire of a diligent search, roughly paraphrasing. So these people knew that. It's all part of the plan, man. It's all part of the plan for the next step, which is for them to implement these draconian laws, these severe, harsh laws. They're not just going to let people keep doing this forever, but it needs to be at a certain level in order for them to be justified in their next step of implementing the new world order. This has all been planned out deliberately, man, because ultimately it's Yahweh Shai's plan. You know, that's why it's in the prophecies. That's why it's literally embedded in the Bible. It's in the prophecies because the Lord, how did the Lord know that these things was going to be happening in the end of the world, to tell us, to give us these particular signs of his second coming? Because he's the one planning it out, man. He's the one that put it into the mind of the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, to do this. That's Proverbs, 21:1, if I'm not mistaken. It tells you how the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turneth it whithersoever he will. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. So we know that these signs that are given, Matthew the 24th chapter, 2nd Ezra 8, 2nd Ezra 9, 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16, and many other scriptures, all these are signs, tokens of the end, tokens that Yahweh is soon to send his son Yahweh Shai back to pretty much end all of this, to end the Edomite rulership on the earth and to establish Jacob's rulership on the earth, 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. All right, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. This resistance, these mass protests, as I'm about to read, is a sign that Esau, Edom's world is done. He knows it. We know it. Yahweh Shai Ben knew it because he planned it out this way. All right, but yeah, they're going to go forward with their plans still because they're proud. And like I said, they know if that they had but a short time. Job, the 13th chapter, it says the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. All right, the rule of the wicked is short. Verse 3, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Isaiah 46, verse 10, the Most High said he declared the end from the beginning. These prophecies in the beginning of the Bible, it spoke about the climate of the end of the world. All right, because the Heavenly Father planned it that way. It's literally him doing it, like a movie. You know, you got different actors, but it's really the director that's controlling all of it. All right, it's really out of his mind. All of these different characters, everything they saying, the protagonist, the antagonist, everything that's going on is coming out of the mind of the director. All right, so that is Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. They're the ones that's in control of this. They're the ones that put all the ideas into Esau's mind to even create the internet, which was his own demise. These devils also created a thermonuclear missile, which started with an atomic bomb. That was all the Most High, because that's also going to lead to their own destruction. That's how they ultimately going to be destroyed on a physical level, all right, along with Yahweh Shai himself coming back to finish the job. But the day of the Lord is the day when those thermonuclear missiles, World War III, man, the missiles get fired from one end of earth to the other. And all these Edomite kingdoms in the world, they all going to be destroyed. That's going to be the end of the wicked's rule. It's going to go out by fire. All right, the second death, the lake of fire, America, Babylon the Great, primarily being destroyed, 100% desolated. All right, nuked off of the face of the earth. This is the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai according to Bible prophecy, man. So let me get Job the 20th chapter. I'm going to end it off with that. Just a quick lesson. Yeah, let's start at verse 22. Job 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Yeah, that's talking about the elites. All right, Esau, Edom, but the elites that are in power, in the fullness of their sufficiency. They're in the fullness of their sufficiency right now. All right, they've already obtained everything. They got the whole world. They control everything. They polluted, you know, the air, the water, the food. The people are all destroyed. That's the fullness of his sufficiency. What more could this goddamn devil want? But other than to chip you next, all right, to put that mark of the beast in you. You see, but he's going to be in straits. Straits meaning a position of difficulty. All right, he's going to have a hard time setting this thing up. And it's because of that exposure of information. All right, the truth going out, being spread like wildfire all throughout the world. That's what's causing the people to wake up and to basically revolt against this agenda. And you got some people, you know, in positions of power that's also resisting. It's not just the Gen Z or the citizens. You got people that's in high places that are also warring against them. They even warring against each other, like Yahweh Shai said. If Satan be divided, how shall his kingdom stand? So that's another way how he's going down. They got internal wars going on. These are the straits that he's in. But ultimately, every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. That's going into Imol. The word wicked there is Imol, which is not Rashai. All right, which is the word for wicked, meaning one that's guilty, you know, of sin, guilty of wickedness. It's Imol, which is laborers when you go into the Hebrew. All right, you got to go into the Hebrew and the Greek to get an understanding of this word, because you would just see the word wicked. Oh, but I thought he is the wicked. And you could say that too. His own people are coming against him, but it's not really talking about that. It's actually talking about the laborers. There's another precept for that in the book of Amos. I forget where it's at, but the apostles just actually brought it out recently, how the laborers are going to overtake the hirers. All right, I think it might be in James, matter of fact, but I know there's another one in James, another precept for this in the book of James as well, in the 5th chapter. But that's the point. You know, the people are basically rising up against him. Verse 23, when he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him while he is eating. So while he's setting this thing up, that's when the Lord is going to come visit him. And the fury of his wrath is talking about the thermonuclear missiles. All right, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to cause World War III to get to a nuclear level. We already in World War III. But like it says, when he is about to fill his belly. All right, meaning what? When he's about to finally accomplish and complete his enterprise. You know how they got that quote on the dollar. I forget exactly how it goes in Latin right now off the top. But it basically saying, crown our enterprise with success. Let me get one more scripture in Job the 5th chapter. That's not going to happen. That is not the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and that's not prophesied. All right, it's not going to happen that way. That's when you're going to meet your end, Esau. Job 5 and 12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the froward is carried headlong. I want to read all that in the NLT. He frustrates the plans of schemers, so the work of their hands will not succeed. He traps the wise in their own cleverness, so their cunning schemes are thwarted. You see that? So their own schemes and their own plans is what's going to bring about their own end. That's the irony of it, man. That's the intelligence and the great wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. How could you beat the chess master, the one who created chess, at a chess game, man? These devils are literally bringing about their own destruction. He dug a pit and he fell into the own pit which he dug. You see? But yeah, the Most High is going to allow them to establish it to certain degrees, because they got to bring forth the mark of the beast, which means they got to crash the global economy. They got to digitalize the global economy, because in order to have a microchip implant, which is an electronical device in your body to buy and sell, you're going to need electronical money, so to speak, digital money, which is that fourth industrial revolution that they've been talking about. World Economic Forum, so on and so forth. Klaus Schwab, everybody should know this by now. All right, but the point is that, yeah, they're going to get up to a certain extent, but then the Lord is going to cause them to basically entrap themselves. All right, so that's what we excited about. You know, that's why we hastening the times, and, you know, we watching, man. I got the alerts on for Dabu because he's always on top of shit, man. He's always bringing stuff out all throughout the day. So, you know, with that, I'm going to just say, call Haloyim. La Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, hope and pray the sincere, hopeful elect was edified through the Holy Spirit, Rakak Wadash. And Lord willing, I'll see you in the next one. Shalom.